Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking 11 everyday routines that are quietly causing biological damage, and more importantly, exactly how we can reverse it. A lot of the things we do on autopilot, or even stuff we think is healthy, are actually setting off these invisible cascades of damage right under our skin. We're talking stiff arteries, microscopic gut inflammation, and even the stealthy buildup of fat in your liver.
So, before we really get going, I want you to ask yourself, are your daily routines actually as good for you as you've been told? Are you absolutely sure that protein bar is helping your gut? Is that morning cup of coffee actually giving you energy, or is it literally just setting you up for a brutal afternoon crash?
To make sense of all these invisible threats without getting totally overwhelmed, we're going to map them out chronologically in a day in the life journey. We'll start with dangerous morning routines, move into unconscious daytime damage, tackle nighttime sleep disruptions, look at the cost of systemic stress, and finally wrap up with some small changes you can make today. All right, let's jump right into section 1, dangerous morning routines. This is where we look at the counterintuitive start to your day because, believe it or not, traditional advice can actually trigger absolute biological chaos the second you wake up. We've all heard the old saying, right? Breakfast is the most important meal of the day, eat right away. Well, eating immediately actually double spikes your blood sugar. Why? Because your body is already mobilizing glucose thanks to your natural cortisol awakening response. When you open your eyes, your cortisol naturally peaks to give you a jolt of energy, releasing stored glucose right into your blood. If you throw a meal on top of that, especially carbs, your poor pancreas has to pump out a massive surge of insulin to deal with this double spike. Over the years, this quietly chips away your insulin sensitivity. Waiting just 90 to 120 minutes, that simple tweak lets this natural biological process run smoothly.
And man, we completely misunderstand our morning coffee. See, while you sleep, your brain clears out this sleep-inducing molecule called adenosine. So when you wake up, your adenosine is at its absolute lowest point. If you drink coffee immediately, the caffeine just parks itself there and blocks those empty receptors. It doesn't clear the molecule away. So while the caffeine is just sitting there, adenosine is secretly building up in the background. When that caffeine finally wears off hours later, all that pent-up adenosine comes crashing in. That is your guaranteed afternoon crash. Just delaying your coffee by 90 minutes fixes this entire problem.
Moving right along into section 2, unconscious daytime damage. I like to call this the desk worker's dilemma, because during the day, we unknowingly put our cardiovascular and digestive systems under immense silent pressure. Let's talk about sitting. You might think hitting the gym for an hour totally saves you, but honestly, it doesn't. Sitting for over 6 hours drastically reduces something called shear stress in your femoral artery. Now, shear stress is just the mechanical friction of blood flowing against your arterial walls, and it is absolutely crucial because it triggers the nitric oxide needed to keep your blood vessels flexible. This happens regardless of your daily workout. Without that friction, your blood vessels literally get stiffer. The fix here isn't a crazy aggressive workout. It's just breaking up your sitting time every 30 minutes to send a quick movement signal back to your vascular system. Now, here's a wild fact about how something as basic as water affects your heart. Even mild, completely symptomless dehydration actually thickens your blood. You won't even feel thirsty, you won't have a headache, but your heart is suddenly working overtime to push this slightly sludgy blood through your veins. In fact, research shows that a serum sodium level over 142 millimoles per liter spikes your heart failure risk by a staggering 60%. It also puts intense, irreversible mechanical strain on the tiny filtration units in your kidneys. So yeah, definitely drink a big glass of water before that delayed cup of coffee. And then there's our snacks. Eating ultra-processed items from the NOVA classification, we're talking about those so-called healthy protein bars, fruit-flavored yogurts, and gluten-free snacks. Doing that just 3 times a week actively degrades your gut's mucosal lining. These foods are packed with industrial emulsifiers like polysorbate 80 and carboxymethylcellulose. I know, mouthfuls, right? But these chemicals literally strip away the protective mucus layer in your gut. So yes, even your favorite healthy yogurt might be the culprit. Once that barrier breaks down, bacteria touch the gut wall, setting off a low-grade, whole-body alarm system that raises your risk for cardiovascular disease and even depression. As the day winds down, we hit section 3, nighttime sleep disruptions. This is where our everyday evening habits can just completely hijack our body's essential recovery and repair mechanisms. Did you know your liver actually has its own biological clock? Right around 8 p.m., it completely shifts modes. During the day, it's a machine, optimized for breaking things down. But at night, it switches gears. This means late meals are converted directly into visceral fat. which is a fast track to non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Even if your daily calories are exactly the same, eating a heavy meal late at night dumps a massive metabolic burden on a liver that has basically already packed up, turned off the lights, and switched to storage mode. Then, of course, there's our phone habit. Scrolling negative news right before bed doesn't just block melatonin because of the blue light, it actually triggers your amygdala into a full-blown fight or flight state, which absolutely destroys your deep sleep. See, your brain's threat detection center cannot tell the difference between a physical predator in the room and an anger-inducing post on social media, so it pumps out cortisol and noradrenaline at the exact moment your body desperately needs to be slipping into a calm, restorative state. And once you're asleep, how you breathe is a huge deal. If you're breathing through your mouth at night, you are completely bypassing your built-in biological filter. Worse, you're missing out on the 15 times higher nitric oxide production that nose breathing gives you. Mouth breathing just dumps cold, unfiltered, dry air straight into your lungs, which slightly lowers your blood oxygen saturation all night long. This leads to these micro-awakenings, higher blood pressure, and even dental decay. Now, taping your mouth at night might sound totally extreme at first, but the data on how it transforms sleep quality is just absolutely fascinating. Moving on to Section 4, the cost of systemic stress. Now we're zooming out to look at lifestyle factors. Beyond just our daily schedule, these are the systemic habits that are quietly accelerating our biological aging. Let's talk about chronic loneliness. It isn't just an emotion, guys. It is a literal genomic trigger for inflammation. It reduces your survival rate by 50% compared to people with strong social ties. 50%! Your immune system essentially misreads chronic loneliness as a signal to prepare for a physical injury. It cranks up inflammatory markers like IL-6 and dials down your antiviral defenses. So biologically speaking, being chronically lonely is a physical state that's just as dangerous as smoking or obesity. This systemic stress extends right into our environment too. Hiding indoors all day deprives your skin of direct UVB rays. This halts the synthesis of vitamin D from cholesterol and completely throws off your morning circadian rhythm. And no, sitting by a sunny window does not count. Glass blocks the specific UVB rays you need to convert the cholesterol in your skin into vitamin D. And vitamin D isn't just a vitamin, it's a crucial steroid hormone precursor that affects practically every tissue in your body, from your immune system all the way to your bones. And finally for this section, in our modern world, we just never fully power down. Never taking the time for intentional stress recovery leads to a low robotic heart rate variability, or HRV. This basically signals that your body is permanently stuck on high alert. A healthy heart isn't supposed to beat like a metronome. You want these tiny micro variations between beats. When you're constantly stressed, those healthy variations just flatline. Your nervous system loses its flexibility, which spikes your baseline cortisol and prematurely ages your organs. Not exactly what we want, right? Okay, now please don't panic, because the absolute best part of all this science is how easily we can implement actionable pivots to reverse this damage. Welcome to our final section, Section 5, Small Changes. The good news is you don't need a massive life overhaul. You can immediately raise your HRV and kickstart your parasympathetic nervous system using something called the physiological sigh. It's super simple. 2 inhales through the nose, followed by 1 long exhale through the mouth. Doing this for literally just 2 to 5 minutes acts as a biological lever. It rapidly yanks your nervous system out of fight or flight and drops it right into recovery mode. It isn't just a relaxation technique. It's a measurable physiological reset. So let's consolidate these invisible threats and look at their brilliantly simple biological fixes. It's amazing how direct these solutions are. Things like taping your mouth at night to boost nitric oxide, standing up every 30 minutes to restore that arterial shear stress, or honestly just delaying your morning coffee to dodge that adenosine crash. You do not have to tackle all 11 of these today. Just pick 2 or 3 that really resonated with you and start making those easy adjustments. Remember, your body is never just passively sitting there. It is constantly reacting, repairing, and adapting based on the exact inputs you feed it every single day. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a thought. Which direction are your daily actions stacking today? Give your body the right inputs and it will absolutely reward you. Thanks for hanging out with me on this deep dive into our hidden habits.